Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday night Bible study. So good to have you tuning in. We love you so much, and we pray that God is continuing to bless you and to cover you in His love, His blood, and His protection, that you and your families are blessed as a result. Pray that we're able to say something tonight that will bless your lives and help you to move into the direction that God would have you to go. I'm going to get into this quick tonight because I got a lot I got to say, and I want to try to end this tonight once and for all. Let me thank my multimedia team and all the faithful people who are here every week to make sure that the word gets out to you. I love all of you, some in the back, some on the floor here, some upstairs in the balcony. Thank you so very, very much. If you would like to have prayer, or if you like to receive salvation, or you have a family member that wants to receive salvation, go online and you'll see the various boxes that you can check off, and you can go there if you would like to give online. We have PushPay, PayPal. We would thank you for whatever seed you would sow. We believe in all of our hearts that you're sowing in good ground at this church, so please avail yourselves to either one of those options. I'll be here Sunday picking up where I left off at, and I pray that it blesses you. I thought I would also try to just kind of warn, well, I don't want to call it a warning, but to just try to, move you into taking some responsibility for yourself during the crisis that we are in our nation. If you have not gone to get you some little extra things, supplies, food, or whatever, because right now we don't know how long this supply chain crisis is going to last. So you may want to go and get you a few things. I was out in the crowd. Me, my wife, and my daughter were out in the crowd on Monday at Costco's. I mean, the lot was full, and people were buying stuff left to right. They talk like we may not begin to feel the effects of the supply chain delays and all of the products being held up at the ports. Probably won't feel it for another 7 days. We're probably at 5 now because that was when it first started. So you got about another 5 days where you may feel the effects, go into the stores, and there may be shortages. So I want to encourage my members or anybody else that's listening to me, you better kind of start moving on getting some things that you will need in case this may take 30 days, it may take 2 months, it may take more. We don't know. But it's amazing to me how this stuff is happening right at the time we're getting ready to enter into an election. It's like every year or every 4 years we go into some type of crisis mode or something. And last time it was the pandemic, and now here we are. And then we got war going on in the Middle East with Iran and Israel. So if there's ever time, as I mentioned last week, that the people of God got to pray, it's now. Because there's going to be shaking, as I mentioned last week. I'm not sure if this supply chain is it or the end of all. I don't know. It may be more, but I do know that in hearing in my own spirit, as well as what I've heard different prophets say, we are coming up to a shaking. And if you have built the foundation of your life on faulty stuff, built of sand, you will not be able to survive the crisis or the storms that are going to come. You got to build your life on the Word of God and prayer, because it's getting ready to get tough in the coming days. So I want you to avail yourselves to that. Go get you something that you can stock up in the house. If you're able to do that, because it's going to serve you well. I hope you saw the end last week. I'm getting ready to go, and hey, I'm going to do the best I can to end this series and pick up with another one next week. I'm praying that I can get it all in. So I'm going to kind of rush a little bit because I'm ready for it to be over with. But I have promised people that I would deal with some topics, and I want to try to deal with it on the night. I hope you saw the end of last week's broadcast. I had a video from a lady named Donna Jackson, African-American woman. If you go tonight and look above or below our screen, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or our own channel, they ought to have the listings of those references that I gave last week, same ones we do it tonight, so you can go and read and check those things out. But this lady's video is on there also if you missed it. You got to see it because she's really telling you what is going on and what's happening with it's getting ready to affect everybody, the whole nation. There are small towns, other larger cities like Chicago, where the immigration problem has become a crisis. And what is really happening, and I'm saying this to many African American citizens who do not understand the politics or what is going on governmentally, but the lady outlined it last week, how people are coming over here, breaking the law by crossing the border illegally, and just for coming over, they are being rewarded with all kind of benefits. She mentioned it last week that many of the migrants are living in high-class hotels in New York or in Chicago. And then they are getting $4,000 to $5,000 worth of different benefits just for being here. They are getting first place for jobs now. Many low-service jobs, as I mentioned to you before, that would have gone to many African-American people, they are being replaced now. Where you're making $14, $15 an hour, migrants are coming in happy to get $10 an hour, which means the bosses are going to go to whoever they can pay the lower wages to. So that means it is impacting the black community. What is going on, as I've told you before, is African Americans are being displaced. I said it one Sunday, and I'm going to say it again. The left, and most of you all know what I mean when I say the left politically, there's the left or the right, is displacing African Americans because they are bringing in another host of people that they need politically. And they are putting them in black communities, which is getting ready to start, as I mentioned last week, a race war between blacks who've been in those communities and the brown or migrants, Hispanics or whatever, that are coming in. They are even raising up gang members to come in and giving them weapons to take over those communities. And a lot of black citizens are upset and are worried that they are getting ready to lose their businesses, possibly even their homes, and that they are being displaced. And the left party is doing nothing to help it because it's already a designed plan. You are being replaced. And you are meant, and I say this to African American people who are trusting in a particular party that is working against your better good. Now, a lot of folk are not going to like hearing me say that, but it's the truth. Go do your investigation. Go online and look on YouTube and put down Chicago migrant crisis and look at the black people that are complaining, that are being put out of their communities, that are being hurt, don't have no peace in their neighborhoods, being jumped on and being molested by men. Because, see, a lot of these countries have emptied their prisons and they are coming across our border, and this is being done by your present administration. And they have allowed 17, 18 million or more people in, and they are shipping these people or flying them out to different places. Now, Memphis has not felt it, but it's coming. It's coming to a community near you, even if you're not in Memphis. But they are giving illegals free money. And we got people out there in our communities that's working as much as they can, make $35,000 median income, as the lady said last week. And in the end, when they got to pay for taxes and they got to pay rent, which is about $1,500 or more a month, transportation, food, and everything else, they don't have much left. Whereas people who are just here from other countries are getting $4,000 and $5,000 a month from this illegal immigration migration that is coming. I am for people immigrating, but I think it ought to be legally and not a whole host of people. Listen, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. You don't have a country, and God honors borders in the scriptures. He said he sets the boundaries of every nation. You have no border, you have no country. And so it's very important that they even mentioned FedEx last week. Now, some of you who work at FedEx, maybe you know, but she mentioned in the film that they are taking natural-born citizens here in the United States and replacing them with migrants. Again, I don't know. I'm only quoting what she said because she stated that she was in Memphis at that particular time, or close to that time. But they are getting preferential treatment. Here's why. And this is why policy is so important, because it should be about America first. That's like all of you in your homes, your home, your children, and what you're responsible for has got to be first before you go and try to help everybody else. So we need to take, in order to be a blessing to other citizens from other nations, we got to take care of America first to make sure America is strong. And that was one of the policy areas that President Trump promoted, but of course they called him racist as a result. The Democratic Party, I'm going to say it tonight so that you won't be confused, is the Antichrist Party. It is anti-family. And I'm going to say this, you're not going to believe it, but it is anti-black folk. You are only needed for votes. You are only loved when it's time to get your votes. There's no real care about you. And see, we still stuck, and we got that thing ingrained in us that this is the party for the black man. It is not. The party has changed. Black people, really, to be honest with you, have never been the priority. They have only been used. Go back and look at the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We've all given Democrats credit for that, but Johnson was the one that wanted to pass it, but he couldn't get enough Democrat votes to pass it. It was the Republicans that pushed and passed the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Go tonight and look it up. Look at Wiki, W-I-K-I, put it in there, 1960. He couldn't even get enough Democrats to vote for it. So he had to go to Republican senators in order to help him out. They are anti-life. The party pushes stuff that's anti-life. It pushes anti-morality because most of their policies are immoral, that pushes sexual perversion. It is the party of death. Why do you say that, Pastor? If you go back, you'll see slavery started with the Democratic Party. And we saw many slaves that died. We also saw under Jim Crow. Jim Crow was established by Democrats. And we saw under Jim Crow how many were hung and lynched. And then we are seeing today how many babies, African-American people are giving up their future because they won't have, in another 15, 20 years, they won't have enough people because they have cut their birth rates off and have aborted their children. This is exactly what the party wants. So it is a party of death when it comes down to it. It is a party that is against black families. Look at the history of the family. From slavery, which were Democrat plantation owners, in slavery, they separated our families. They would not even acknowledge the marriages of black families. They would even take a black man over here who called himself being married to a woman, but if he was a big, strong guy, they took him and made him mate with another woman. That's one of the reasons our marriages and our families have not been strong, because the spirit of that has passed down generationally. We have not always had strong family structures like we should have. Now, we did good up in the early 1900s, 1920, 30. Our families were pretty good and pretty strong during that time. But what happened was they bought the war on poverty. This was Democrat. Bought the war on poverty. You know what they did? They gave money to fix a problem. So they had programs, they gave welfare, but they took one key out that they understood was the key to the family. They took the man out of the home. Ladies, we'll give you the money, but you can't have a man in your house. That means the children now were robbed of them having a father. And so that kept, once again, another policy that has hurt our families. And then even today, Black Lives Matter, which was also supported by the Democratic Party, they had in their particular policies that they were against the nuclear family that had the father at the head. They did not believe in patriarchy. And so we look down through the years and we've seen the party destroy our families. And people don't see it because they don't understand truth. Now, somebody wrote me and they said, why you as a black man are against a black woman that's running for president? Shouldn't you be supporting your sister? Why are you as a black man telling your people to vote for Trump? I have never, go back, never told anybody to vote for Trump. I have compared what goes on with both, the different issues and how they compare. I've done that. I've always even told people, go vote for whoever you want. But I have never specifically said, y'all need to go and vote for Trump. You will not find that. And you have your right to vote for whoever you want. But I have compared the issues. And I have shown which issues are in line with godliness or which ones are going to be better suited for our community. I have done that. But you will have nowhere on tape where I have said, y'all need to go and vote for Trump. And so my politics, when it comes to me, I've said this before, I look at the world through a biblical worldview, a biblical lens. In other words, how does this situation play into what the Word of God says? Because I don't want to be against God. I want to always make sure I'm in line with God in every area of my life, including my politics and how I vote. That's what a Christian is supposed to do that fears God. The Bible says that if you do not hate evil, it is a sign that you do not fear God. And that's the problem. It is amazing to me. I had somebody say to me lately, I can't understand how black Christians can go to church every Sunday to worship God, but can still go and vote for homosexuality. Don't make no sense. But I understand that. And the reason is, I'm going to say something that may hurt some people, and I'm going to say it. The reason is we've known churchianity and not real Christianity. There has not been a real, this is not everybody, but this is for a lot of us as African Americans. We don't have a real deep down commitment for Christ. And when that commitment is not there, there's not a fear of the Lord that's there, which is what we've been talking about on this past Sunday. And so when it's time to go to the polls, you don't care. You don't care about babies being killed anytime, unrestricted, any time of the pregnancy. You don't care anything about whether or not gay rights is going to spread and it's going to impact the children and the schools and parents and all of that. You don't care nothing about the taxpayer support of sexual transition surgeries. That's what they want. Democratic Party wants to have the right to use your tax dollars to go and cut off the organs of children, and they don't want the parents to be able to have the right to say anything. And you're all right with that? You're okay with that? Something is wrong with your heart when you know your God is against that. And so therefore, people may complain about me, talk about me. You know, I'm used to it. I've been talking like this, dealing with this for the last 20-something years, so I don't care nothing about anymore. I've gotten beyond, I'm numb to what people say. I'm beyond that because I know people will not be able to give me any reward or anything when I stand before God. I'm out here representing God because I want to be obedient to him. So I don't care if what I say is contrary to what you believe and what you like. You cannot be a true God-following Christian and go for all of this ungodliness. Now, I'm going to say it. Just because you want to hold up race. That's what I was talking about the other week about the God of blackness. We will divorce what God says, ignore what God says, don't care about what God says, won't follow what God says just to be able to hold up skin color. It is stupid to make a decision based on skin color alone. It's stupid because, oh God, don't let me, Jesus, help me, Holy Ghost, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But it is stupid to do that. You look for heart. You look for policies. You look for laws. You look for what they believe in, what they say. Because listen to me. You put in your trust in folk because you're thinking if they got the same color I got, they're going to look after me. They're going to go in. They know the plight I've gone through. They've gone through the same thing because they got the same color. What y'all don't see is that the real people running the show behind the scenes are white, liberal, wealthy gays on the Democratic side. And once they get a political candidate that they want to push and promote, or that they want to use their talent and skill, they grab them, they promise them benefits behind the scenes, and then they prop them up, and guess what? They can't represent you no more because whoever is putting the money in their pocket is who they got to obey. That's what you all don't see about the election. The gay movement is what's running stuff behind the scenes, LGBTQ, and they are using black people. Here's how. The gays cannot win an election just with gay people. They don't have enough. So what do I do to do it? I got to go recruit black folk. So here's what they do. They prop up I'm looking at President Obama and Kamala, light-skinned African Americans that can pull both sides, black and white. They prop them up because they know the loyalty that we have toward our people. They know the majority of our people are not going to vote against our own. So they know that. So they go get them, but yet the puppet strings with the money is the thing that's ruling behind the scenes. The first thing Kamala did, the first thing she did after she was announced that she was going to be the candidate was she went and did a promo of LGBTQ. Sat down with them, laughed with them. LGBTQ was sending us a message. We in control. She didn't do a promo for black folk or the African American community. She did a promo for LGBTQ because that's who's ruling. That's who's running. That's who's pulling the strings behind the scene. And in order to get black folk, watch this, to come and vote for the candidate we putting up, because once they get in office, they gonna push our agenda. And so here we go, just because we want somebody symbolically at the top, ooh, my black sister, my black brother, and we going crazy over all that, when what you don't realize is behind the scenes, somebody else is pulling the strings. And I'm gonna say this to you, that's with most black elected officials. Hate to say that, but it's the truth. Not all. We got some good folk in every city that do love their people, but it's a whole lot of people are being controlled by the dollars behind, and that's why the hood never changes. Have you noticed? Trillions of dollars come down through Congress into our communities, but the communities never change because those behind the scenes are pulling the strings with their money and their benefits. And so in order for us, I'm speaking on like, if this was the gay community, in order for us to get the vote, we got to put up our own candidate, give them the benefits, and let them draw the black vote while y'all get in office and push the gay agenda. That's what's going on. And people don't want to see that. So my politics is based on worldview. I can't base it on black and race because in many places it's going contrary to the will of God, and I got to stand before God. Here's the reason why. Leviticus 18, verse 20 through 28 in the New Living Translation, and it says this. This is back in Old Testament days, and Israel was being confronted with pagan nations. And I want you to see some of the things that pagan nations did back then, because the same thing is happening now. If you will go back at the beginning of this chapter, I'm not telling you all to do that, but it talked about all the different ungodly sexual lives, different intercourses and incest relationships and all that. That precedes this verse, and I'm going to pick up here at verse 20. Do not defile yourself by having sexual intercourse with your neighbor's wife. Do not permit any of your children to be offered as a sacrifice to Molech. That's abortion. For you must not bring shame on the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not practice homosexuality, having sex with another man, as with a woman. Watch, it is a detestable sin. A man must not defile himself by having sex with an animal. I didn't know that was even going on, but I have seen articles on that even happens today. And a woman must not offer herself to a male animal to have intercourse with it. This is a perverse act. Do not defile yourself in any of these ways, for the people I am driving out before you have defiled themselves in all of these ways, because the entire land has become defiled. This is why I have a biblical worldview, because this is how God views it. The more and more these lifestyles spread, abortion, homosexuality, and all of these other ungodly sexual lifestyles, it defiles the land. What does that mean? It pollutes the land, and when the land is polluted, it's being polluted by evil spirits. So that means it brings more of a presence of evil into the earth. That's why you want to vote against anybody that's going to promote that. God says it's defiling your nation. That means it's going to bring more deaths. It's going to bring more evil events and catastrophes in the earth because the land is defiled. Because the entire land has become defiled, I am punishing the people who live there. I will cause the land to vomit. Look at that. I'm going to cause the land to vomit them out. What does that remind you of? New Orleans. Go back to when the big hurricane Katrina hit. It was like the water hit and it forced the people out of their land. God was judging because New Orleans was filled with idolatry, with witchcraft, and with sexual perversion. People were cursing. They can go down the street and find somebody they could get a curse on by somebody, some witch that lived in a particular house. Evidently, the sin had risen so far until God had to vomit the people out of the land. And now the people that were there at that time have gone to places like Houston and other places in and around the southeast area of the nation because the land had become defiled. This is why people got to view this thing by God's eyesight and not by your little political racial identities of just wanting to put somebody up so you can just say, I got somebody up that look like me. What do they stand for? What is the agenda? Do you know? Or are you just throwing somebody in there? Because when we vote for these things, it defiles the nation and makes it worse. Next scripture, it says, you got it? You must obey all my decrees and regulations. You must not commit any of these detestable sins. God says it's detestable. This applies both to native-born Israelites and to the foreigners living among you. Next, all these detestable activities are practiced by the people of the land where I am taking you, and this is how the land has become defiled. So do not defile the land and give it a reason to vomit you out, as it will vomit out the people who live there now. Meaning, it brings God's judgment on the nation. So that's why I'm dedicated to voting according to my convictions, and I see the world through biblical eyes. Many people think it's wrong to deal with politics in church. I want to deal with that because that has come up. And they say, somebody sent me something that said, when does politics have to do with Bible study or God and all that? You see, a lot of people get upset when I preach on this because many people are believing in the wrong direction and they don't want me to challenge them. So when I begin to preach truth, and that truth is contrary to the way they want to vote, they get upset because they don't want to have to come in line. I want to stay over here with my family. I want to be with my friends and my people and all this kind of stuff, rather than see it from that's why I go back to there's a lack of commitment to Christ. When you committed to Christ, you want to please him. You want to come in alignment with his word. And so the reason why God ain't got a problem with it is because God is the one that established authority. God is the one that established government. And therefore, if his leaders in government do not function in the way that he tells them to function, it is going to affect the lives of his people and his kingdom. Y'all, we got to vote for something bigger than color. How am I going to live under this person? How am I going to live? What would my life be like? How are they going to affect me economically? And people don't have a hill of beans idea of knowing what policies are going to impact them. That's why I've been on this so much. And so God says only righteousness exalts a nation. So therefore, unrighteousness will be a shame and a reproach to the people. And that's what's wrong right now. America has moved and is moving further into unrighteousness. They've even taken God out of the party platform. No respect and no fear for God. That's all I need. I don't have to care about the other policies. Just knowing you don't want God lets me know you're the wrong party. But there again, people don't have a commitment to God. So they worship color. And that's why I've been on this. But the Bible deals with government all the time. Do you know that the prophets back in the day would go and speak truth to power? The prophets would go and tell the king, who was the president of his day, where he was wrong and what God had to say. So that means the prophets were involved with government. That's the thing that's wrong with America right now. The church has left the culture. We don't have nothing to do with the colleges. The colleges, Harvard, Yale, and all of those schools were started by Christians, by preachers. Go back and do your history. But as time went on, the church said, well, we ain't going to have nothing to do with the world. We just go on and stay in our little church building, just wait till the rapture come. And so we let the colleges go. We've let the government go. We don't have nothing. The Christian voices are not present anymore to have influence. Because of that attitude, the church ought not preach about stuff going on with politics or the government. You only care about that when it goes contrary to the way you want to go. That's where the problem is. But the Bible deals with when David messed up, God sent Samuel. He always sent the prophets. So the prophets were involved in government. And all of the issues of the day are dealt with in the Bible. Immigration is in the Bible. Guns, or should I say weapons, are in the Bible. Abortion is dealt with. Gay rights, transgender, same-sex marriage, the border wall, welfare, social justice, socialism, religious liberty, radical feminism, Islam, all of it is in the Bible, all those issues. So anything in the Bible, we got a right to preach it. You may not want to hear it, but we got a right to preach it. Daniel, Joseph, David, Gideon, Barak, Esther, Samuel, Nehemiah, Paul were all involved in the governments of their day. They went and spoke truth to power. The church is losing or has lost the culture. We don't have any influence anymore. And now, the last thing we've had, the church is slowly creeping into LGBTQ. Because more of your black preachers, this is what I was talking about the other week that people didn't hear, many of your black preachers, in order to stay loyal to black, are having to connect with civil rights organizations that's pushing the LGBTQ agenda. So now they bowing to black, and now they bowing to LGBTQ. Because LGBTQ has taken over many of your civil rights organizations, including, no, I ain't gonna say that. But they've gone in, they've contributed money, and now with that money, that civil rights organization has to bow and accept LGBTQ, and guess what? That influences other black people. And that's why many of our people are going contrary to God's will and way, because they are following race and color and not God. And so when I come up here and preach on this, I sound crazy to everybody because I want to be obedient to my God. The Bible says, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. America's getting close to not allowing God to be Lord over this nation. Here, we are close to becoming another Sodom and Gomorrah. 2 Peter 2, verse 6 makes this statement. It says, and I'm looking at the New Living Translation, later God condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, turned them into heaps of ashes. Watch this. And he made them an example of what will happen to ungodly people. What was the ungodliness they were promoting and pushing and practicing? Homosexuality. Sodom and Gomorrah, in the Old Testament, in the book of Genesis, chapter 19, go and read it and see how they had gotten so bad until everybody, all the men and women had become, all the men and the older men and the younger men had become gay. It was that bad, that perverted. And so God is saying, if you want to see what's getting ready to happen to your nation or other nations, go look and see what I did in the Old Testament with Sodom and Gomorrah. At the end, he made them an example of what will happen to ungodly people. So therefore, the ungodliness mentioned is homosexuality and all of the perversions that come with. You mean to tell me you're all right with your child once this Equality Act passes, that Kamala wants to pass and push, that will give LGBTQ all rights in every way, and if you disagree in any kind of way, you can be charged with discrimination. You mean you all right about that? Our kids gonna sit down and learn about 73 different sexual orientations, take your pick, that you can be a girl today and a boy tomorrow. You can transition, because what they really want is sex with whoever you want. They don't want to be confined to God's order of male and female. 73 expressions your children going to be sitting down listening to, because when the Equality Act, if it passes, they tried to sneak it in last year. Thank God a few Republicans stopped it. But had that bill passed, your children will have to go to school and hear about the homosexual lifestyle in school every day. And if parents complain, parents can be fined or arrested. Because what you don't understand is they want the children for the next generation. We got to get them now so they can come up and think like we think, and we won't have no struggle, because the people they're dealing with today, us, our generation, our minds are set. We know what's right and what's wrong, but these innocent kids do not. So they need to get them indoctrinated in school. You for that? Just because somebody share your skin color and they willing to promote this and it's going to hurt your child, you for that? Shame on you. Because there's no commitment to God and his word, no fear of God, no commitment to Christ. That's what's wrong. And the world is slowly creeping in and carrying you away from God's mindset, the mind of Christ. You may not like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. Go look in scriptures. The prophets were involved in politics. Moses spoke to Pharaoh. I got it right here. Nathan spoke to David. John the Baptist spoke to Herod. Elijah spoke to Ahab. Amos spoke to Jeroboam. Jonah spoke to the kings of Nineveh. Micah spoke to Ahab. Isaiah went to Hezekiah. Elisha went to Jehu. Paul went to Felix and Festus. They were always involved in politics because they had to keep the politics going in a godly direction. Here's one that I love, and that's Psalms 94, verse 20 through 21. Watch this. This is so key. Can unjust or ungodly leaders claim that God is on their side? Leaders whose decrees permit injustice? They gang up against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. Stop right there. Once these laws change, they are going to gang up against the righteous. When the ungodly get full power like they want, they coming after the church. And the greatest persecution you've ever seen in your life is going to begin to take place at some point, because they will have the laws on their side. When the foundation be taken up, what will the righteous be able to do? When that foundation is destroyed, they're going to gang up against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. Many people going to die because they're going to try to stand up. That's why I'm preaching right now while it's still day, while the laws still give me the right to be able to preach, because a day is coming when innocent folk are going to die. That's what happens under socialist system. Once you get a leader in position that is like a dictator, anybody that opposes him, they will kill them. In the 20th century, over 130 or 150 million people died under socialist regimes. Why? They didn't have the government structure that we have. 3 branches of government that certifies the freedom of the people, that give us a Bill of Rights. Those nations didn't have that. So they had governments where there was one or just a group that was in control. And when you opposed the leader, they killed you. Who was going to stop them? There was nobody higher than them. That's what America is coming to. And it's exactly what the Democratic Party is trying to do now, is to get us down to one party. And this immigration coming in is going to outnumber everybody. And they are thinking that the people coming in, migrating, is going to totally vote Democrat. We'll never have a 2-party system again. Open your eyes and see what's coming. That's what's getting ready to happen. So I had somebody wrote me a letter, and I hope I got, this is a young lady, and what she was trying to do was, evidently she heard or it could be a member, but she heard my broadcast where I talked about blackness and that we got to vote godliness. And so she makes a comparison with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And everything on here she says about Trump is nothing but the rhetoric and all of the news reports. Here's what you all don't understand. Your news media is corrupt because the ones that people watch, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN, are all mainstream, but they lean to the left, meaning they support the liberal Democratic side. So the news is slanted. If you don't get your news from other independent sources out there, which is why I'm able to report things to you, I got other sources that I go to get the real true news that gives you documentation that proves everything. Everything she says on here, I can tell is stuff she heard on the news or what somebody else in her community has told her. One of the false things that people believe is January 6th was, that people were killed January 6th when the riot at the Capitol and Trump was at fault. What you have not heard is, and the media wouldn't report it, is that Trump said before they went down there, we going down to protest peacefully and patriotically. The news media didn't give you that. They cut that out. So he was encouraging them not to riot. Second thing you don't know is that Trump called the mayor of Washington, D.C., because the federal government cannot bring in the National Guard unless they get permission from the mayor. He offered a day or two before January the 6th, so just somewhere around the 3rd or the 4th of January, he offered 10,000 troops. All this is on record. He offered 10,000 troops to come because he had heard that something was brewing and getting ready to happen, and he wanted to help control. She would not receive it. This was an African-American Democratic mayor, Mayor Bowser in Washington, D.C., would not accept the troops. I can't understand if there's finna be a riot possibly coming and it's being heard about in your city and you don't want to protect the city because there was a plan. All you got to do is look at who did it benefit. Let me tell you who was behind January the 6th. January the 6th, look at who benefited, and you'll know then who was really behind it. January the 6th, because I've done my research, I can send you any references you need to help you out. Go back to when Martin Luther King had his last march in Memphis before he died. His last march was the week before the assassination. I think it was the 28th of March. He was killed on the 4th. What they did, they went and paid black boys because they saw King progressing. He was getting ready to have the Poor People's March, which was going to affect the economics of the city, of the nation, should I say. And they were trying to cut that off from happening. So they wanted to make him look bad and make the nonviolent movement look bad. And so what they did, they paid young African-American gang guys, the FBI, to go in and make a ruckus in the march and then break out windows and everything. And so it looked like on the news, and they began to report it, that nonviolence didn't work. And they were trying to destroy King's reputation. The FBI did that to control what happened. Go look online, do your study. The FBI has been found out that they were behind January the 6th. What they did, they put their people in the front of the line to crawl up the building. They even got videos of Antifa guys changing clothes and putting on the type of clothes that the protesters were even trying to stop them. But they were on the front lines, and so when they are filming everything, it looks like it's the protesters, when it was actually people the FBI had paid to get in front so it could get out that Trump was behind it. We have been brainwashed to a lot of stuff that's happening because your media is not being truthful. The media hates Trump. And y'all don't realize we got to have somebody to get us out of this mess. Now, I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to vote for. I would never do that. But I will tell you this. We got to get somebody that's going to get this nation out of the mess that it's in. I'm finna show you real quickly, because I brought this up a few weeks ago. that, oh, I want to mention something she mentioned. She says something in here about Trump is a sexist. He had immoral sexual behavior with a lot of women and all of that. That's the one I want to address, because that's the one I hear all the time. What about all the women? What about Stormy Daniels? What about the video that was out, or the recording about him talking lewdly about women? Every last one of them things, I agree, is wrong and was wrong. I'm in agreement with that. I wish it had been different, that he had done it in a different way. But let me give you something you haven't thought about. My question to you is, if we are not going to give Trump grace, do you deserve grace? Because I guarantee you, everybody listening to me, or the great majority, you got to pass. We all got to pass that we are not proud of. And here's the deal that you're missing. All of these accusations were out before he won the first time, which means you done had 4 years of Trump already, from 2016 to 2017 to 2021. So that means all them accusations didn't impact how he governed when he was in office. So you can kill all that now. We already had 4 years. None of it affected how he governed. Trump never did anything to hurt the black community. Give me one thing he did to hurt us. I can give you things he did to bless us. Give me one that he did to hurt us. Not only that, Trump never passed one ungodly legislation. See, it ain't about personality, his style, and his rhetoric, because see, rhetoric ain't going to pay your bills. Policy is what's going to pay your bills. When he wants to keep the taxes low and all of that, that's what's going to determine how you're going to live. You got to get above this race stuff. But it's your pride. You've been offended racially. I don't like the way he talk about black folk. Trump has talked about both blacks and whites out there. Different people he's labeled, given nicknames. So it ain't about race. It's his little style of leadership, and just, I would prefer he did it differently, but that's how he chooses to deal with it. But I know rhetoric ain't going to impact how I'm going to live. Now, as it relates to the women that he's had, watch this. The issue with Stormy Daniels happened in 2006. Trump married Melania, I think, either early 2006 or 2005. Trump, to this day, still denies that anything happened. But let's say it did happen. Let's say something did happen with Trump and Stormy Daniels. From 2006 all the way to 2024 is almost 19 years. You ain't heard nothing else about another woman. Watch this now. 19 years. And you sit back and say, well, Pastor, how can you say that? You don't know. I'm going to tell you why I know. There has been no other president that has been more investigated or scrutinized than Donald Trump. He done been through the Mueller report, the Russian hoax. He done been through trials. He done been through impeachments. They done looked up under the cover or every sheet of paper they could to find anything on him. If there had been anything else, it would have been out by now. So from Stormy Daniels, 2006, up until now, you ain't heard nothing else about another woman. Question, does he deserve some mercy and grace? Don't we all live certain ways in our lives and we practice some things for a while until we made up in our minds that we're going to turn away from it? If there were things that people knew about any of us that we have done from the past, and your job, your career, or other people around you found out about it, you wouldn't be able to hold the position you got. We all got something in our closets that we've done. So that means when he ran and announced in 2016 that he was running, from 2006 to 2016, 10 years at that point, they didn't have nothing. So that's why I know he deserves grace. He got to pay. Yeah, he was a playboy in his day, but everybody loved him until he came down them steps and announcing that he was a Republican. Going back to January 6th, Nancy Pelosi, go do your research, was the one that didn't call the security in. She admits she didn't call the security in either. The whole thing is a hoax. If you just do your research, you can find it out. And let me ask this question. You talk about, okay, if we're going to condemn Trump, stay with me, then you got to condemn the present president that's in office, because there are 8 sexual harassments out there against him right now. How come we didn't know this? Because the media protected him and wouldn't tell us. 8 women out there that he has accusations of sexual harassment against. We know about Trump's sins, but nobody told us about Biden. I'm going to send it out to you. I'm getting ready to send out an email. Has it already gone out, Mike? Okay, I'm getting ready to send out an email blast that'll give you that where you can do your research. If we're going to put Trump's sins in, then we got to go deal with Kamala. Because before Kamala became senator or president, she had a day also. She dated a man by the name of Willie Brown, who was the mayor of San Francisco while he was married. So that means while he was still legally married to this woman, although separated, they were in a sexual relationship with each other. If we're going to give Kamala mercy, do we owe Trump? No, you just hate Trump. Because really it's symbolic for many of you, not everybody, but it's really symbolic of your feeling toward white people, period. Black people are just as racist sometimes as white folk who have been racist. And not all of them are racist, and not all black people feel that way. But your real problem is you hate white folk. You haven't forgiven white people. That keeps you from even considering somebody else, because deep down, you don't trust white people, and you still carry bitterness for the racism you experience. I've been there, and I had to repent and check my heart with God that I wasn't right when it came to whites. And since that time, because I've forgiven and I'm not bitter anymore, my eyes are spiritually open to where I can consider somebody else. Democrats make a lot of promise, but they never deliver. And they don't come see about you. They'll bring you a few turkeys or give you a cell phone every 4 years. And then after that, you don't see them anymore because they're in love with power. Bill Clinton, let me bring him up, had a girl in the White House while in office, in the Oval Office, doing sexual things. And I didn't hear nobody black, back when he was in office, stand up and say he was wrong, because he gets a pass for being a Democrat. But over here, Republican Trump, look at all the stuff he doing and what he done. He's a sexist and he's all of this. People act like you can't change in life. Barack Obama put the rainbow colors on the White House the night Supreme Court decided to make same-sex marriage legal, and I didn't see black folks say a word. He was declaring a detestable sin over the whole nation. And that's some of the stuff we're dealing with right now. I'm trying to get through. I'm going to do this right quick, and I'm through. I want to try to go, because I told some people the other week that I would talk about why Trump. I ain't going to tell you who I'm voting for. I wouldn't dare do that. I've never told you who I'm voting for. But I will tell you the advantages in what I see. Because it's about now where the nation is going. If we don't get somebody in here that can fix this nation, we're in trouble. Because it is at the worst it's ever been. I'm going to go through these right quick. They will have the little points, the PowerPoints on the screen for you to see. Put it on the main screen at the top. Number 1, Trump already got 4 years experience. Number 2, Trump is a businessman. We need a businessman to get us out of this mess. Trump has the ability to negotiate. When he was president, he was able to negotiate with world leaders, and it kept a lot of wars from happening. I'm sorry, Kamala does not have that experience. I've seen her deal with people like the president of Poland, and all she was doing was giggling. She didn't have nothing to say. Love my sister, I love her dearly, but when it comes to running this nation and impacting the world, we got to have somebody there that knows how to conduct business. There were no wars under Trump. Border control. The way he stopped the border problem, he went and called the Mexican president and said, look, if y'all don't stop the migrants from coming over, I'm going to have to charge you more on the products coming into the nation. The Mexican president immediately went and stopped it. Biden is saying, just give me some laws, make the Congress make me do it. No, he got the ability to go stop it now. They don't want to stop it. And it's getting ready to impact all of our lives. I'm sorry, the Democrats don't care nothing about you. All they care about is power. And next thing, I like the fact that Trump is not a politician. These are just my little considerations, so I'm evaluating both sides so I can make a quality, informed decision. I ain't gonna tell you nothing about who I'm voting for. But I like the way he shoots from the hip because he's straight, he's honest, he just tell you how he feels. I've heard people say, Trump done lied this, Obama lied. Bush lied. Clinton lied. All presidents, when they get under pressure, will lie at different times. Some exaggerate. Number 4, I like the fact he's his own man. Does not depend on nobody. He has boldness. He has strength. He won't let the media control him. And America needs strong leadership because there's a deep state operating behind the scenes, and you got to have somebody strong. Number 5, he promotes freedom and American values. I want to see America be safe because right now the Democrats are projecting a global world. That's why they bring in all these people in, and they want globalism, and they want it to be done through socialism where the government controls everything. Trump wants America to be free. Next one, number 6, he has provided the government let the government protect the church. Here's the baby for me. Trump did things when he was in office that protected the church. He made different executive orders. The reason I'm able to speak now is because of the executive order that allowed pastors to speak. If the church is not protected, persecution is coming, especially with this gay rights thing. They're going to push us out of business as best they can. Persecution is coming. Trump's presence holds that LGBTQ train up. That's why. That's the big one for me. Because I'm a pastor and I love the Church of God. I may go to 8 o'clock tonight, so y'all bear with me because you need this. Number 7, he prospered the African American community. Here's what black people don't know. He had a record low unemployment for our community. He created what is called opportunity zones, which was to give corporations incentives to come bring business into underserved communities. That would have carried the communities up. It didn't get a chance to do all that it could do because they kept him in court cases and kept him having to come up with all kind of information to distract him, and that was on purpose. But that engine of opportunity zones could have been a great blessing to our communities. Not only that, he had policies for helping minority businesses grow, black businesses to grow. It was called the Minority Business Development Agency. Then he gave permanent funding to HBCU colleges, black colleges. He gave permanent funding. Then they came up with school choice that would allow black mothers who had their children in unsafe schools and poor performing schools where they could take the tax dollars and use them to go to a charter school or a private school. And you can't tell me you can't beat that. He came up with the First Step Act that released over 3,000 prisoners, most of whom were black. Because of some of the charges that he felt was weak, he let them out and let them go free. He gave an executive order, watch this, after George Floyd's death. See, the media hadn't told you none of these things. After George Floyd's death, he had an executive order called the Safe Policing Act, which means police had to be careful about how they policed in African American communities. Media never told us about this, but go do your research and you'll see. Now watch, I'm gonna make a quick comparison. In Obama's last term as president from 2012 to 2016, there were 11 police on black crimes where 11 black guys were killed by the police. You remember the names: Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray, and about 7 more. All of that happened under Obama's last term. Under Trump, after he passed that Safe Policing Act, there were only 2 that came during his 4 years, and that was George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. You don't see nothing else happening because he got in there, passed legislation, made the police start tightening up on what they were doing. That didn't happen up under Obama. 11 folk got killed. There were a few others, but notable ones. There were about 11 ones that got killed during that time. You don't know the issues. All you're hearing about is the rhetoric. And you know what they do on the news? They go get a black person, a black activist or pundit. They put them on and interview them. Trump is a racist. And guess what? All black people hear, because they trust this black brother or black sister, and we leave out with the attitude, Trump must be a racist. I'm not saying that he's done everything perfect. No. There are things I wish he could have done a different way. But this great, big, raging racist, I don't believe that. Trump helped Jennifer Hudson when her family got shot. He housed Michael Jackson. Trump even gave Jesse Jackson the money that he needed for his campaign as president in '84. He gave Al Sharpton money. But once he became a Republican, they all turned on him. This is stuff they don't say. He voted for Obama the first time in 2008. Media won't tell you that. Trump will protect capitalism, which is our way of life. We don't want socialism because it means the government controls everything in our lives. Number 9, Trump will decrease, or should I say decrease inflation. The inflation is up, the prices are up because of the policies of Biden and Harris. Trump, when he left office, the inflation rate was at 8%. Right now, it's at 20%. That's why your groceries are high. That's why the gas is high. Interest rates on mortgages are high. It's about how we gonna live, y'all. Number 10. Trump gave tax cuts to the middle class. That's why black people will say, I had more money when Trump was in office. That's why. Tax cuts. Kamala has already announced that she wants to increase the taxes, particularly on the corporations. See, socialism hates business, so they always after the rich. So they think if we tax the rich, take more from them, make them pay their fair share, then we doing real good. But what happens is those corporations now will pass that cost down to us. That's where we will pay it. I think the cutoff is $400,000. Anything below $400,000 will not be taxed. But when they get taxed, they got to pass that cost down, and you'll feel it when you go to the grocery stores. Trump came in office, the corporate tax rate was at 33% under Obama. He came and lowered it to 21%. And then all the corporations started coming back because they could make a profit. And that brought the jobs back. That's what made the economy boom. Democratic policies don't do that. Next thing, he's promised that he will never touch Social Security, nor Medicare. What's going to mess with Medicare is all of these migrants coming in, and they're going to put them on that roll, and that's how you're going to be impacted. But Trump has promised. He didn't do it the first 4 years. He didn't touch it then, and he's never made a statement out there, but they want to scare black senior citizens. 13, Trump removed the individual mandate in Obamacare. Under Obamacare, if you didn't have insurance, you could be penalized. He came and he moved that out the way. Here's the next thing. Kamala them wants to have government health care. That means private health care. You done worked all your life, got a good job, got good health care. Under the Democrats, they want government health care, everybody under Medicare. And that means the government will not be able to pay for everything that is required for our insurance. I want my own private health care because I'm in control of that with my doctors. And when Obamacare first came out, they promised that you can have your plan and your doctor, and many people lost their plans and their doctors. 14, Trump will be respected by world leaders. We need somebody up there. I promise you, what's happening in Iran and Israel right now would have never happened if Trump was in office. Never. What happened to Israel back in October last year would have never happened because those world leaders revere Trump. I just heard where Putin, who's over Russia, he just got through saying who he wanted to be president. Guess what he said? Kamala. Why? He feels like he got a better chance to control her than Trump. So we need somebody that he fears. Because y'all, with all of these migrants, military-age soldiers coming in to this nation right now, there's an invasion going on in America right now. Next thing, Trump made the military stronger. It had died, gotten weak under Obama's 8 years because Obama didn't do nothing to build up the arsenal. Trump came in, built up the military. Here's another thing. All this woke and gay stuff is in the military now, and now the enrollment is down from the soldiers enrolling to be in the army because they don't want to be sleeping next to folk that have all these weird sexual perversions. And so now the numbers are down. Trump had a executive order that demanded that they couldn't be in the military. That's why. It weakens the military. Biden came in, opened the door for them to come back in, and now the numbers are low. We ain't got enough folk almost to protect us if we were ever invaded. Next thing, the border crisis was stopped. I told you about that earlier. The next thing, Trump will protect Israel because God says whoever protects Israel, God was going to bless. Whoever goes against Israel, God will not bless. And Biden and Harris have been very slow in helping Netanyahu in Israel. They have not embraced them as they should. 18, Trump will make us energy independent. The reason the gas prices almost came up under $2 under Trump, was because Trump believed in fracking. What is fracking? Drilling your own oil in your own land so you won't have to depend on the Middle East. That brought the gas prices down. Kamala is not for fracking. She's trying to change now because she run for president. But if you go back and hear her rhetoric years ago, she stated that I'm against fracking. Why? When you got energy right here that can take the gas prices down for the people? No, it's because they are dedicated to those environmental climate change people, and that's another whole story. So we need to be energy independent. Trump is going to challenge unfair trade practices because China has been ripping America off. Trump bought billions of dollars back into our nation because of those trade practices. Trump has policies, transgender policies, so it can protect morality. And I told you about the morale problem in the military. Restrooms, he put an executive order that you got to go to the bathroom of your biological birth. Democrats don't do that. 21, Trump wants to protect the unborn because a curse comes over America when we kill God's babies, and especially if it's in the law. 22, Trump wants to protect parental rights. Right now, Democrats in different places are taking the children, giving them an opportunity. They call them children's rights, meaning you ain't got to go to your parents. If you want your private part cut off, you ain't got to ask your parents. God says the parents are responsible for the children. Next thing, Trump is tough on crime. The reason we dealing with the crime problem now is because we don't have nobody tough on crime, not only at the top, but also in our cities. Our district attorneys are Democrat, they are liberal, and they are putting these guys back out on the streets. And so we got to have somebody that's going to be tough on crime so we can be protected, our property can be protected. And Kamala is not that person. She's not going to do that. Next thing, we need to have school. No, I'm sorry. Go to 23. I missed that. Trump will protect the right to bear arms. I just showed you a film last week how Kamala said that we're going to come into your house and we're going to see if you're doing your guns properly. Constitutionally, the government ain't got no right to come in my house. They got to have a warrant for anything I've done wrong. So that means she's going to break the Constitution in order to come in our houses to check on our guns. You know why? Because socialism wants to take people's rights away from protecting themselves. She's a socialist. And then the last thing is school choice. I've already talked about that. I know I'm long tonight. Y'all forgive me. I wanted to end it so I wouldn't have to I'm going to another topic on next week. Pray that you've been blessed. Right at the end of this is a 2-minute video, only 2 minutes, maybe a little more than 2 minutes, of a black gentleman. I've played it before way back, but it may mean something to you right now. Father, I thank you tonight. I pray that I've helped your people just to give them some truth, just to give them the ability to make an informed decision. And God, we leave this election in your hands. Whatever your will is, let your will be done. You know what's best for us. I pray that you protect America, that you keep us from the evil that is encroaching on us to take away our freedoms. I pray for Kamala Harris. I pray, God, that some way that you can open her eyes to help her to see what America is all about and your intentions for this nation. And I pray for Donald Trump, God, that whatever it is you have to do in his life, for him to even make changes in his heart and in his life, I pray that you are able to do that. And God, I cover America now with the blood. I cover both of those candidates tonight with the blood of Jesus, that there are no attacks that will come against them. And God, we give you praise in this hour. I pray for America, and I lift it up. All 50 states is covered tonight by your blood. And may your people make godly decisions in this election. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you. See you Sunday. Looking forward to it.